Hello and welcome once again to Top Hat Chat with myself, Street, Orb and the Top Hat Gaming Man. Today on the channel we are going to be discussing Megaman 11 and why it didn't get a physical release. But first, I want to point out that actually on camera at the moment, we can see you haven't got shoes on.
What's that relevant to anything?
I've just noticed.
Okay, fair enough.
Are they Atari socks?
They are Atari socks, yes.
They're very nice.
Thank you, thank you.
I've got boring ones on today.
Are they 2600 socks?
They are my 2600 socks. I also have asteroid socks and Breakoot ones as well.
I was waiting for asteroids.
Anyway, so Mega Man 11 not getting a physical release on the Switch in Europe.
Yes, I actually called this on the channel, I believe. Whenever the Mega Man 11 news first popped up, where we actually made a video, one of the first videos on this channel, I believe, it was all about why Mega Man is not a popular franchise in Europe, and we was making all sorts of inferences regarding why. So, since you're fairly new to this channel, why do you think that Mega Man is not very popular in Europe?
I think it could be an artistic reason. I think it's quite, I think like the whole single body suit approach, like this sounds quite weird, but I think from a design standpoint, it doesn't look very, it's not what I would picture to be in one of my favourite games, if you know what I mean. Like from the European perspective, it kind of just seems a bit odd and the storyline's a bit weird and it's very hard. It's very hard. Yeah. And I think hardness tends to discredit it from the US and the UK and the EU.
But it came out in a time period in which games were really hard in general. So its difficulty was no different to anything else that was coming out at the time. And other franchises flourished in our part of the world.
Unless you get the one answer that he wants, he will have a reason why you're wrong.
Okay, so what is the one answer that you want?
There's not one answer that I want. There's a few answers that I want, thank you.
So what are those answers? Come on.
Well, I surmised originally Mega Man never got popular in Europe purely off the basis that the NES itself never got popular in Europe, whereas in America it was hugely popular. So certain titles became hugely popular and can't even say it now. Propelled certain franchises into the stratosphere there, such as Castlevania and Mega Man, two franchises in Europe which have never really been a big deal.
That's right, everybody. We're slating Nintendo again.
We're not slating Nintendo.
Well done, Rich. We're bringing this up again.
Is that what Alex the Kid is a bigger franchise in Europe than, say, Mega Man would be?
Alex the Kid is a much bigger franchise.
Or is it Alex Kid?
It's Alex Kidd, apparently, but this brings me back to the AVGN thing, where he talked about, as he likes to call it, the Mandela Effect.
Oh, right, okay.
So I think it is the Mandela Effect, so maybe we're from the Alex the Kid universe rather than the Alex Kidd universe. Clearly, as AVGN appears to be from the Mandela universe, where we're from the Mandela universe. Well, I am, at least. Mandela, seriously, even I wouldn't say something that ridiculous.
That is absurd.
Like he doesn't know who Mandela is.
Yeah.
I'd like you to tell me, AVGN, who this is. It looks a bit like Morgan Freeman. Like, he just has no idea who that could possibly be.
Nelson Mandela, right?
Yeah. Like, absolute ridiculousness.
But anyway, back to the point, which was Mega Man. I personally think it's never taken off in Europe because the NES was never that popular, so it's never got the same foothold. I don't think the art style does relate. I agree with you to some degree, but I would say in the 1980s, the Americans were even more anti-anime than that of the Europeans, because in a lot of European countries such as France, Portugal, Spain, Italy, anime was huge, where it wasn't in the US, same as it wasn't in the UK.
Okay, that's a good point. I like that.
So artistically, I think it relates better to Europe than it does to North America.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's never been quite as popular, and so due to that fact, I actually put forward the idea that they're going to skip it on the Nintendo Switch, because Nintendo's never been that popular here, and neither's Mega Man. So put 2 and 2 together. Why would they possibly release an unpopular game on an unpopular platform in this region?
And I said, oh no, the thing is they're going to want to push titles for the Switch. It's going to have to come out because they're not releasing anything. And I carried on with that. Right up to it, it's like, we're going to release it, it's coming out. It's like, yeah, they're going to have to because they still haven't brought out that many real mainstay titles for the Switch. And we're in discussion today, just before we started our stream on twitch.tv/TopHatChat. Did that fit in all right?
Yes, fine.
Cool.
Not too cheap.
Wonderful. Yeah, we started off on this kind of route around, and you said, oh, has Mega Man 11 actually come out yet? And I said, actually, yeah, I saw a copy in game today. And you went, is there a Switch version? And I went, well, I saw it on PS4.
Yeah, it's come out on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One because those platforms were actually popular. People actually own those here. So it makes sense. But that's still steps forwards for the Mega Man franchise in Europe because the Mega Man collections, which in the US you can get on the PS4 and the and the Xbox One, they weren't released in Europe. So we've got some Mega Man, which we didn't have previously. That's the first Mega Man we've had for ages.
I like how the Nintendo Switch is fast becoming Homer's suckling pig from The Simpsons, right? You know, it's something we really want, and it really wants to be awesome, but it's just going through this cycle of hell and getting away from us all. And, you know, it's flying through the air, it's getting rolled in mud, it's getting shot out, and we're still there, we're chasing it, go, no, it's still good, it's still good, it's still good. And then eventually it's just going to disappear, and we're going to be like, oh, it wasn't good.
That is the agenda being pushed out there by a lot of YouTubers at present, but personally, I've never been one of those people to get wrapped up in all the hype. I like to call it the echo chamber.
Yeah. But is it because Nintendo, for so many gamers, I know the figures don't really narrow up, but is it because for many gamers, Nintendo is like one of those real like epitomes of gaming? We've all got that sort of rose-tinted spectacle kind of thing with Nintendo because Mario's so iconic and Link and Zelda are so iconic and Donkey Kong and all these Nintendo staples, they scream computer games and, you know, that culture. And I think we just want Nintendo to get back to that sort of glory day, so to speak, where they are killing it and they are doing all that. But, you know, the Nintendo port isn't the way to do it. And so maybe it has got so far away from them now that they can't warrant putting physical releases out for games that otherwise would have.
I mean, there's another thing that is actually quite important to mention is that the actual cartridge itself, I think, plays a bit of plays a kind of a bit of a role in this because discs are considerably cheaper to make. So if you're selling a game that's brand new for 25 quid. Right, you can get away with selling that on PS4 because the profit margins are all right. It's going to cost like what, less than 50p to actually make the disc. It's fine. You can sell that for 25 quid, still make decent profit. But with the cartridges, they're costing considerably more to make. So the profit margins become a lot smaller, which is why you're getting some games that are released on both for physical, but the Switch version's much more expensive. They either would have had to have upped the price or kept the price where it was and not release it physically.
I will say I am happy to pay like a £5 premium on a Nintendo Switch title over a PS4 or an Xbox One title because you are getting two games in one in the way. You're getting the handheld version and you're getting the console version. But
most people that are gamers, you know people that own a Switch, right? How many of those only have a Switch?
None. You wouldn't get
exactly.
You would never get someone who only owns a Switch. There's not enough games for it.
If they walk into a shop and go, right, I might have a go at this Mega Man stuff. I've heard people talking about it.
You mean in America? Because that wouldn't happen here because it's not for sale.
Well, no, because it's still got a PS4. And you go, right, well, there's a same. For example, they pick up the PS4 version and they go, oh, it's 25 quid. And they pick up the Switch version and go, oh, it's 35 quid. I'll get the cheaper one. You know, they're just not going to shift as many units if they're upping the price a little bit. So they either make less profit, which they don't want to do, or they sell it digitally.
I suppose economically it doesn't make any sense to release it, does it? There's two other platforms it's on which are actually popular.
Yeah.
So you're going to release it on the two popular platforms.
Yeah. and have it as an option on the third one.
Especially a game you know is not going to do well here anyway.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. What is the internal memory like for a Switch? Size-wise?
Well, I haven't filled mine up yet.
No? Do we have any sort of rough figure? I don't know.
I'll have to look on the back of the box, but it's in the garage, so I can't bother to get it.
And do we know if that's expandable at all?
It is.
It is expandable. Because I was considering the way that Xboxes and PS4s can get away so much with like releasing both is not only is the CD a much cheaper medium, is their space on the hard drive is in theory so much larger. Like, so you can afford to have all of these downloaded games.
Yeah.
And they also have it where you don't have to have them all installed. You can just go back and quickly re-download them, certainly for the smaller games. And I'm wondering whether the Switch is actually entering a dangerous territory by not having the largest internal memory available and is actually choosing to not physically release games, so you have to buy them as a download.
Yeah, I mean, you do have the option of the fact that you can put stuff on memory cards.
Okay.
And you can, like SD cards, and just take them out and then put a new one in. But then you carry around these tiny little cartridges this big. I've lost whole game discs that are like this big.
Oh yeah.
You know, the fact that I still have all of my Switch cartridges is absolutely incredible to me. But then memory cards, trying to keep them safe as well, I'd lose them.
Yeah.
Like, that's just me.
So to finish this off, I'd just like to ask you all about Mega Man. Do you recall when you first found out about the franchise existing in this region?
I was probably 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
You knew about it straight away then?
Well, you see, one of the biggest consoles that I played growing up was the NES original. Don't subscribe to the norm that is, well, I had a Mega Drive and that was it. I was always poor, so we always bought second-hand consoles, and the NES was the first console we ever had, and it had Mega Man 1, I believe, was the first one I ever played. So I've known about Mega Man forever. It was never really my cup of tea. I found it hard. I found it too hard for me, really, to enjoy it.
Yeah. The thing is, if you were about 5, then
well, yeah,
it would have brutalised you.
See, I was lucky enough to get Mega Man X when I was very young because my mother was quite intuitive, and she used to actually speak to the staff in an electronic boutique and say, "What's a great game to get my son?" rather than just buying whatever's popular at the moment. So that's how I ended up with Mega Man X and loved it. But no one else I used to speak to about it at school, and I'd never heard of it. Didn't know what I was talking about. But yeah.
What was your first experience with Mega Man?
I think Rich actually introduced me to Mega Man vaguely, probably about 10 years ago. You mentioned it in passing as being one of your favourite games, and I had a little go on an emulator. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've each got a different sort of starting point now. You were in right at sort of the middle point of the series with the Mega Man X franchise.
Yeah.
Obviously, I 5
I think
years...
it would have been the same time. I think I was 9 when I got it. So I think you're 4 years younger than me, so it would have been the same time.
So 95 is when I'm thinking I would have played that. So obviously about 9 odd years after the game come out, but I'm still young. So it's quite. So you're a late comer to the whole.
I mean, the thing is that you love Mega Man.
I do.
I'm indifferent. I enjoy it, but it's too hard for me.
Saying that, it's a lie. I do not love Mega Man. I love Mega Man X.
Okay.
Mega Man is average.
Okay. Personally, Mega Man for me, I don't like the system.
What is...
Die, learn patterns, repeat. Die, learn patterns, repeat. Die, learn patterns, repeat. I don't like that system.
So it's like the precursor to the Souls series, right? In that way, that's kind of what
it feels like.
Dark Souls and those games.
It's not. I mean, it's not quite.
I've never played games like that, so I can't compare.
I mean, it's not quite that brutal.
No,
but it feels that way. It's the same pattern.
Yeah, it's learn. It's play, die, learn, play, die, learn, play, die, learn, until you get to one of the rare checkpoints, which is usually the end of that section or the end of the level in Mega Man.
Yeah, it's not a game that I really go out and out with. Like, it's not something that I would pick up. I recently played a bit of Mega Man 11 and realised that it was exactly the same as all the previous Mega Mans I'd played, and I thought, I'm not buying into it.
One last closing point I would like to say, I did find it amusing actually that the Mega Man collection never made it to Europe, and Mega Man 11 has not made it to Europe on the Nintendo Switch yet. Mighty Number 9 made it to Europe on the Wii U. How on earth does that happen? That's ridiculous.
Oh,
Strange.
wow.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's crazy. When you, yeah.
Well, maybe they just thought maybe people are just turned off by Mega Man. Maybe this is what the perception is in Japan. People are turned off by Mega Man. We'll release a different game, a very similar game, under a different name, and people might pick it up. Maybe. Maybe that's the perception.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I do not want to talk about Mighty Number 9 anymore.
Is it not one of your favourite games ever?
No.
Like the thought you put into that.
Right, well, bear in mind that you want to close much. Would you like to do an outro?
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, why would you surmise that Mega Man 11 has not seen a physical release on the Nintendo Switch in the whole of Europe? Let us know in the comments section. Cheerio. Top Hat Chat is partly funded by the fantastic support we receive on Patreon. So I would like to give thanks to the following people: Michael Keneally and Ben Sainty, both for supporting the Top Hat Trust, and all of our other patrons. Yeah.
Also, a huge thank you to our God tier patron Stuart McDermott. We salute you, sir.
So if anybody else wants to support our fantastic Patreon, then there is a link for you in the description. Ta-ta and farewell.